Good evening. This is Sôgmô Sörgel replying to Mr. Uh, Byers' just reply to um, Mr. Lethler's response to my invitation. Um, I find it ironic that it is just a reply to this response, and yet he continues to go off on tangents and he continues to just make childish remarks. And there's actually very little of substance or very little value in this video because the majority of it is just either using offensive language or just making ludicrous, childish claims. And he's doing the same thing that he attacks Mr. Lethler for doing, and that is he has no citations, he has no references, and um, even more so, he's over exaggerating and flailing quite obviously like a child. So I will try to address what there is actually within this video, and I started taking notes on a notepad, but the majority of them were actually very ad hominem, and I tried to delete the majority of those. Um, his entire video is seemingly an edit to Mr. Lethler's response, and I don't understand as to why he would do that. He has no justification for it. He has no reason, no ability to do so. Especially because there has been uh, uh, little of substance which has arisen from Christinia's press or anything that has been published from Christinia since whatever it's been doing. Um, there's been very little of value, and he attacks while he's editing this response. He attacks Mr. Leffler's micronational experience. And it's almost as if he's claiming to have more experience. And yet, I find this ironic because his own micronation is a complete flop. It is a complete failure of a micronation. It's always temporary. It's always changing between something or another. It's always patched up by separate nations. It's either in the St. Charlian Commonwealth or it's in Nimcavia. It's been in Nimcavia twice now, and apparently Mr. Bayer is not able to remain in Nimcavia, nor is he able to continue in a competent rule. Um, and I don't understand on what grounds Mr. Bayer says this, and uh, he's always stating that Mr. Lethler has no experience, and yet Mr. Lethler is perhaps one of the best debaters in our community. Um, he's the best uh, he- uh, to discuss. He is perhaps the most knowledgeable. Um, and he's well versed in the press, etc. Um, and he continues to defame Mr. Lethler as being a sock puppet, um, as being manipulative or as being untruthful, and yet it's ironic because when Mr. Lethler was around, that was what Dresner was known for. He was known as being manipulative, and he still is. He's known as being rude, as being untruthful, and I believe that we can now add on to those criteria that he can't even control himself. I mean, at the later part of the video, it seems that Mr. Bayer continuously just breaks down. He continues to have bouts of paranoia. And he continues to be paranoid over the many arguments that Mr. Lethler is saying in this response. In this response, it's not supposed to have detail. It's not as if he's writing an essay on a policy or on an ideology. No, Mr. Lethler is responding to my invitation. There isn't supposed to be much of importance to that, besides the fact that he is responding. It was an invitation, and apparently Mr. Byer seems that for some reason he is given the okay and the go-ahead to critique and to respond to this response to this invitation. And he continues to defame Lethler as being a failed administrator, and yet it seems that our administration, as it is today, can't even set up a bare minimum, set up a basic uh, quality control for its members. They can't even pursue policies that will teach younger micronationalists to do and what not to do. Because you can't just read those things, you have to begin to learn them. And the only way you're going to learn them is by criticism. And that is what education has been founded on for the past millennia. Since the founding of education, it has always been founded on criticism. What do you think your grade is? If that criticism didn't exist, you would be getting 100% in all of your courses. But no, education is founded upon criticism, and that is what Mr. Lethler excels at, criticism. And he does try his best to make it the best criticism possible. There have been many things that Mr. Lethler and I have disagreed with, many things that the people who oppose Mr. Lethler fail to either recognize or understand, and they seemingly fail to even want to look at it because it's some kind of anomaly to their own argument. And yet, Mr. Lethler, despite our various political issues and arguments that we have had, Mr. Lethler has always taught us and criticized us to the best of his abilities that have educated us. And the reason why I invited Mr. Lethler is back because there is a crisis of professionalism. There is. That is exemplified by Mr. Byers' video. He continues to flail, he continues to cuss, he continues to state childish remarks. He's a dictator. He can't even speak correctly. He embarrasses me as a micronationalist. And frankly, if he's going to be present at the summit, I frankly would not want any press. And of course, what I find perhaps most amusing is the fact that Mr. Byer tries to counter-argue Mr. Lethler's argument on power. And yet he skips the most important part of his response that replies to this argument. He completely ignores it, and I feel on purpose. I will not seek nor accept a position on the administration. I have neither the desire nor the need to return to the administration. Indeed, it is my belief that at the moment my ascension to the administration would make it considerably more difficult for me to be the powerful voice my supporters wish me to be. A powerful voice for professionalism, for education. That was the basis of the invitation, and it seems apparent that many people in this community, many people who are high up and who have had a personal vendetta against Mr. Lethler, have attacked him for that. They have said that he might come back into power. That was the argument in the spring of 2011, that was the argument in the late summer of 2011, that Mr. Lethler might come back to power. And that was the most paranoid argument and most paranoid consideration that the administration, that members of TASPAC, that A1, Mr. Oakes, Mr. Lucas, Mr. Byer, and a whole slew of people, that is the only consideration they ever felt, because frankly they have no consideration for this community. Frankly, I have been fed up because of their biased attitude towards this community. The fact that I have had, over the past couple weeks, had to continuously protest and protest and protest again the fact that there are stupid articles on our main page, that this is the example we are giving new micronationalists. It is an embarrassment to me as a micronationalist who has given 3 years to this community, who has argued several times for some sort of quality, some sort of professionalism, and to have been attacked for it as being some sort of Nazi. That, frankly, is obnoxious. That, frankly, is inconsiderable. The fact that none of my articles, even upon my several requests, have been denied, it's apparent to me that there is a bias by many people in the administration. And there's not all of them. I know some of them are honorable, decent people. But there are some who are incredibly lazy, there are some who have done nothing micronationally, and there are some who don't even understand the fine arts of politics or diplomacy. They have done very little to prepare micronationalists in the future. And frankly, I'm afraid towards what goal our future micronationalists will have to compete with. I am afraid for them. Because simply put, they will not have enough education. And when real politics begins to impede their micronationalism, I am afraid that they will simply give up and leave. And if they do so, it will be upon the failure of the community and upon the failure of the administration to provide for it. And frankly, that is not something which I am willing to live with. As a micronationalist, as someone who follows the Buddhist Dharma, as someone who believes in my state and in my allies and in all micronations, to have some sort of coherent political purpose in our grand world, I will not believe that there is a possibility that our world will be left up to the hands of uneducated children who will not understand the very fine art of politics or diplomacy. With that, I am afraid that there is nothing left for me to address in this video. But it is very disturbing to me, that no one in this community has recognized this fact insofar. The fact that it has come to years of very little done, well, more like a year, but the fact that it has come to months of me stating that we needed these things, that we needed some sort of quality control, and the fact that I have now invited Mr. Lethler back as part of these policies which have been meant to educate and promote micronationalists, the fact that I have been attacked repeatedly for this is some sort of defaming behavior by the members of the community who have done so. That is why I am not willing to negotiate. I am not willing to stand down. I have never been willing to stand down. That is why I have always found a duty and a purpose in serving my micronation. And that is why I will have a duty when I continue to serve it for the upcoming years. Thank you.